Today's photo story is brought to you by MPB, the place to go for quality used camera gear in the US, UK and Europe.
The camera doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. I mean, what really matters is what you're doing with the camera and the person's eye behind the camera.
The voice of a recent guest, Pete Souza. Today, unashamed poignancy, family and personal pictures on the podcast. One of our Photography Daily podcast subscribers posted a picture in the show's Facebook group about 2 weeks back, and it caught my eye instantly for its fabulous simplicity, because often that's what really makes a picture for me. And this was that photograph. And this is one of a selection of further pictures in the story. Just hands, nothing else. Hands, and more specifically fingers, that appear to be doing something. And then I read the words of Elias Cameratos, who posted these images. He wrote, "Much has been said about the power of photography to heal and act as a psychological support during difficult times. I'd like to share with you a series of photos I made in Australia in 2014, when my father suffered a stroke. Sitting by his hospital bed, I saw him make strange yet oddly familiar gestures with his hands. And then it dawned on me that he was back on our island in Greece, baiting a hook and fishing off the side of his boat. After spending 7 years bedridden, yesterday at age 92, he finally found rest. Unable to attend the funeral because of COVID and living in France, editing these photos gave me that much needed psychological support and closure." And so today's Photo Story podcast is about the powerful personal photographs we make and why the stories before our eyes, with the loved ones around us, should never be underestimated. I spoke very recently with an American photographer, Deanna Dykman, who is proof that you just don't know where your inquisitive nature may lead you. She began making photographs of her mother and father as she left their home at the end of a visit there decades ago.
My mom had a bright pink blouse, and there was this red house and the green grass and the blue sky, and I just pulled out my camera and took a picture.
For 27 years, she photographed them, waving goodbye. No intention of doing anything more than just a capture that had become habitual, really, as part of her visit. And now, all those years later, this study, if you will, is a book called Leaving and Waving. Who would have imagined something as simple as a wave goodbye would become what it has? But having documented the seasons and her family and parents aging as she drove away each time, and then eventually an empty drive, it's a photo story quite unlike anything else. Just the most incredible, simple idea. One of the most poignant photo stories of the last 12 months that I've seen and then featured on the podcast was Daron Zametlupi's essay, if you will, about his daughter Bex as she battled during lockdown with a rare form of bone cancer. I'm always incredibly privileged that photojournalists or anybody would want to talk about something quite so personal.
No, for a 15-year-old, I think she's been incredibly mature and strong. Really, really impressive.
But actually it's a beautiful family story and a wonderful tribute in the most challenging of times.
I've never known anyone like that. I don't say it because she's my daughter, but I really think she's one of the strongest people I know.
Sometimes, of course, these photographs we make don't have to feature a person or people. I keep a range of items in a drawer just over there, actually, in the studio that are very precious. They belong to my late father. He was given a fountain pen for his 21st birthday in 1955 by his dad. It was a Parker 51 with a 12-karat gold cap and capitalized, lightly engraved words along the barrel that said, "To John, on your 21st, from Dad." My father used that pen for writing anything special, such as family greetings cards, and also for signing checks. And it lived in the left-hand drawer of his Beechwood office desk on a blotter next to a bottle of Stevens blue-black ink. And I still have that small 2 fluid-ounce bottle, though the ink has long since dried. He also owned a dark blue steel toolbox. The tools were all many decades old, even when I was young, but they were cared for, treated well, oiled if required, and each had their own compartment in that blue steel toolbox. We no longer have the blue steel toolbox, but I have the tools, and I made pictures of those things one afternoon for a Cargay collective photo essay called On Things We Keep. So, never underestimate the power of the family pictures that we make, the simple gestures such as waving goodbye, the pictures of the things that we own and the rooms that we live in. And while we're not all making photo stories that will become a book or an important piece of photojournalism or even a campaign, it's the real somethings and nothings that can become absolute family gold. As another member of our Facebook group said, April Eaton Brown on waving and leaving, "It's every reason why I take photographs," she said. "I decided to start a project in my own hometown. Simple snapshots. I sit in the same spot every morning as I sip a cup of coffee and plan the day ahead. It's the surroundings we overlook, and often these photographs are throwaways. Perhaps just a cluttered home, but moments in time. And I sure wish I had photographs of my parents waving goodbye." Join me on the podcast Photography Daily for more of these sorts of stories. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and we'll pick those up for the start of the next photo stories.
They're just so ordinary, we don't think they're going to be special. And so get out the camera and take the picture.